Congratulations, you're a parent. And like a proud parent, shouldn't you be happy that I drew something for you? Don't you want to put it on the fridge? Here you go. Take a good, long look. Who do you think that is? Does that remind you of anybody? Anybody specific? That is none other than Sean Diddy Combs. P. Diddy himself. Now you're probably wondering why I drew something like that for you. Well, maybe it's riling you up, maybe you're shaking vigorously, you're sweating non-stop, you want to punch me in the face. But that would make you a bad parent. Instead, you call a company and you end up getting me banned. That's what happens to certain cartoons when they push the line, when they just stretch it as far as it can go, and they make media that should have never been aired. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at some of the most infamous banned cartoon episodes, trying to see why they were banned, trying to guess why, and ultimately researching and finding out what got them taken off the air. If you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I promise I'll make it worth your while. And if you want a place where you can talk about your favorite games, movies, and shows, my Discord will be in the description. Now let's finally take a look at the most infamous banned cartoon episodes. Taking a look at a banned episode from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, it's going to be the episode Boston. Now, prior to the making of this video, I had never heard of this episode, I don't know why it's banned, but I can get two main things after watching. One, they were clearly trying to make fun of anybody who's from Boston, and two, they were alluding to some kind of bomb, but this was pre-Boston Marathon bombing, so I don't think they're trying to make fun of a tragedy in the future. I just think it's alluding to something in the real world, and I'm not quite sure what. It just feels like it's not a joke conjured up in the writer's room. It feels like they're making fun of something specific. So, in the episode, it opens with Shake and Meewad sitting at a computer, and Meewad's all like, "Oh yeah, man, put the picture of me in the cop outfit on the main photo. Oh yeah, that's me making a dirty bust. Oh yeah."
Cop one. That's me making a bust.
So Meewad, he is apparently being auctioned off for a little bit of money. And the problem is, nobody wants Meewad's meat all over them, inside of them, wherever it really needs to go. Nobody wants him, so they need to make it a little bit more appealing.
I'll tell you, this is not good for my low self-esteem. See, I got a self-esteem. This is it.
So they fly to Boston. Why Boston? I don't know, but they get off of a plane and there's initially a lot of like terrorist kind of things going on where apparently Meewad had to be like, you know, touched, a colonoscopy, all that good stuff to see if Meewad was carrying everything wrong. And he's like, "They took away all my squishy toys, man. They took it all away from me." And he starts spitting and things are exploding, so it starts alluring me to the bomb idea. Frylock takes out a gun out of his head and threatens to shoot people with it, kind of like they're terrorists in some kind of way. They eventually leave the airport and go underneath this bridge, and they stuff Meewad up in this little corner, just lodged underneath the bridge, and start saying that they're looking for some homeless foot traffic. Did somebody put a bomb underneath a bridge that was looking for homeless foot traffic? Is this what we're alluring to? And so Meewad, he's sitting there like, "Oh yeah, man, let me take all my wires out of my body. Let me put some batteries right next to me. Oh, and let me get out these LED lights so that I can be nice and shiny." So, the implication here is clearly that Meewad is some kind of bomb and is trying to attract homeless people to it to perhaps explode for some odd reason.
There we go.
Those are energy efficient and harmless to humans. Shake, you really put a lot of thought into this.
And Shake and Frylock are going to sit there until Meewad is worth some goddamn money. That is the goal here. And they wait weeks upon weeks upon weeks until eventually the ghost of Paul Revere shows up and he's like, "Hey yo, get on my car. I got a horse here. Come with me." So they go with Paul Revere for whatever godforsaken reason. They go with him and they meet up with Benjamin Franklin, and we just get them saying some Boston things for a while, talking about baseball, Derek Jeter, some cars, some horses, doing some lightning on Meewad, and then eventually they start going, "It's a bomb! It's a bomb! What are you doing? It's a bomb!"
Oh my freaking god, it's a bomb!
It's a bomb!
Get the freak out of here, dude! Hey, socks rule!
Bomb!
And so they kick Frylock, Shake, and Meatwad out because bombing reasons. And so they go back home, and Shake apparently did make some money, and he got this like weird LED kids thing where you like put the chips in and it lights those up, and he wanted it to explode, but it's not exploding, so they give it to Carl, and then it explodes in front of Carl, and then they're staring at Carl, and they're like, "Sir, you need to get out of here, you need to think about Boston, you need to think about Boston and bombings, man!" And Carl fucking explodes and dies.
On my count! 3,
Oh.
2,
Hey, who put these wires on
What?
my dong?
Okay. And then apparently they think a sandwich is a bomb that Shake brings out of the house, but apparently Shake was a bomb and he explodes and dies. And then we get to see, I think they're called the Moonanites, and they're wearing some like Taliban clothing with beards. One of them looks like Osama. And they're talking about death to America and how the sandwich is supposed to explode, and that's the end of the episode. I have no idea what's going on. I really feel like there was a real bombing situation that they're making fun of, because genuinely none of this feels like it was just conjured up in a writer's room, like they're just sitting there like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna put Meatwad as a bomb underneath a bridge, and we're just gonna make a bunch of references to this bombing thing and then make fun of people in Boston," because it doesn't really feel very cohesive. So upon researching this, I'm excited to see what the actual reason for this being banned was. So apparently it was all a publicity stunt, and this makes the episode all the more funny. They were putting like these little Moonanite guys underneath bridges or in random places to try to promote the show in a really weird way. Just having the Moonanites flipping people off, lighting up, and they had exposed wires, exposed batteries. So somebody was walking in Boston, they were like, "Oh god, it's such a sunny day. I wish I could have taken my car on the freeway. Oh god, I need Derek Jeter to give me a piggyback ride." And then they saw that and they were like, "Is that a Moonanite? Is that a bomb? Oh god, that's a bomb!" And so they called a SWAT team, called all these people to try to defuse this bomb, and it turns out that it was just a publicity stunt for Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, like, members or people in charge of marketing, they ended up getting fired. Turner and company had to pay like $2 million in damages for all of these Moonanite things that they placed all over, because people just thought they were bombs, which I think is crazy, because if I was walking, especially in 2007, and I saw one of these things, my initial thought would not be bomb. I would think, look at that little guy. Wow, that's unique. Is that some artwork? But somebody was definitely like, "Oh my god, that's a bomb! Hey, it's gonna come after my car! Where's Derek Jeter? Is he okay?" That's definitely what they would be thinking. But overall, it was a really good episode that took a very serious situation and made it so unbelievably funny. There were so many scenes that relate to this real life event in such a good way, like Fry saying, "Oh man, I sure hope they don't call the SWAT team and blow this way out of proportion over something really small and insignificant." Just jokes like that turn something real into a very comedic situation that I end up finding very comedic. So this episode, does it deserve to be banned? Yeah, in a sense. At the time, I can understand why it was, but nowadays, this is just a very funny episode to look back on a really awful yet comedic situation in the real world. Of course, South Park would have to be in this video, and I'm only going to be taking a look at 2 episodes, because when it comes down to it, the main reason for these episodes always being banned is because of Muhammad. Muhammad, the prophet, the man himself, if you talk about him, if you depict him in any kind of way, there's people that want to hurt you. Matt and Trey, they have tried multiple times over the years to try to get past this, and it never really happens and just ends up getting the episodes banned. But it doesn't mean this isn't enjoyable, and I personally have never seen South Park episode 200 or 201, so this was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. The episode opens with everybody at a tour of a fudge factory, and they just so happen to notice that the man from inside of the closet, Tom Cruise, just so happens to be working there, and he is packing fudge.
Guys, check it out. Tom Cruise is a fudge packer.
What did you call me?
Now, I would like to preface that he is literally packing fudge. He is grabbing fudge, putting it into a box, and that is his job. But they call him, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it, I didn't know that this was a slur, but a guy who packs fudge. It's apparently a homophobic slur, and my question is, how do you even, let it get to that? How do you even develop that? Really? You're telling me that somebody looked at somebody and was like, "Oh man, you like anal sex? Oh, you must really like packing fucking Fudge, man. And somebody was like, oh, oh, that hurt. That cut me deeper than a knife. Like, really? Like, there's a lot of horrible things said in the world, but somebody genuinely had to sit there with their brain and be like, dude, check this out. I'm gonna call him a guy who packs fudge. I think that's stupid. But either way, I really like Tom Cruise's reaction to it. I think it's completely and utterly hilarious. He starts saying he does not pack fudge. This is not something that he does. He's very offended by this, and he cannot take it. So he decides he's going to stand up against this. He's going to stand up against South Park, and he's going to sue them.
Oh, that does it. I will sue you.
For what?
You can't just call somebody a fudge packer and get away with it.
And that's when we see Tom Cruise gathering an army of everybody that South Park has wronged over the years. Kanye West, Paris Hilton, just all these different people who hate South Park. And I like this joke that they give Jared Fogle where he's just walking around opening closet doors when he's looking for the bathroom. That's very on brand for Jared Fogle.
No, Jared, that one's a closet. No, that's a closet. No, that's a...
So the entire town basically blames everything on Stan. So Stan and Randy, they have to go to the fudge packing plant, and they find Tom Cruise, and they're like, man, look, you're wearing a fudge uniform, you're putting the chocolate in the box, can't we look past this? And Tom Cruise is like, I'm never gonna not sue you! Unless they can get him Muhammad.
Muhammad, the prophet of the Muslim faith.
Ooh.
That's tricky.
And you could already tell that's pretty much the main reason that it was banned. I like to imagine that the guy who has to, like, greenlight these episodes is just sitting there, his toes curling. He's sweating like, oh, no, please, they're talking about Muhammad again. He's, like, pressing a button on the wall, like, emergency, emergency, somebody help me. As he starts having a stroke and collapses to the floor just at the utter just mention of Muhammad, just panicking immensely. And I love the town's reaction to this information. He wants Muhammad, and somebody holds up a stick figure drawing of him. It's literally just the most baseless, nonchalant stick figure you could ever imagine. And everybody's like, can we show that? Can we show that? And they all look up and just are praying to the Comedy Central gods, just hoping that it's okay to show a stick figure of Muhammad. Well, I guess we'll find out if that's okay.
Out! Is that okay to show?
I don't know.
So we then see why all of the celebrities want this. They want to harness the power of Muhammad, because if they do this, then they won't be made fun of ever again, because they won't be able to be talked about, they won't be able to be drawn. It's just going to be the ultimate power, the power of the prophet, the power of Muhammad. This will do everything that they could possibly need for them. And then we get to see Cartman bring back Jennifer Lopez with his hand. It's Jennifer Lopez. She's there for some money. Cartman is now attached to this. And I like that it just feels like it's building up to something major, something extreme. And I really wish that this just aired naturally. I don't think anything in episode 201 should have been banned. I mean, I get that you're mentioning a guy that has some extremists that will attack you for mentioning him, but come on. I mean, it's a little bit funny. I can't lie. So they go to the Super Best Friends to try to convince Muhammad to come out there, but he's not there. And the Super Best Friends, they're all like, come on, you can't bring Muhammad. I mean, it's kind of harsh to depict, you know, religious figures in a negative light because it might make some people angry. And then they show Buddha just being all like, oh yeah, that's some enlightenment right there.
You need to understand that people get very offended when Muhammad is mocked because he's a religious figure. Buddha!
As he's just doing lines on the table. Just classic South Park comedy that I need in my life. And so they eventually do convince Muhammad. He's in the back of the truck, and they do, in fact, have Muhammad. But we see that Mitch Connor is also active in this episode. Apparently, Jennifer Lopez, she's like, oh, yes, Cartman. Oh, you know the true plan. As Cartman takes off the wig, and it's Mitch Connor, so Mitch Connor is also plotting. That's very important, and there's a lot of random shit going on. And then apparently, the Gingers, they want Muhammad, and they put Muhammad in a bear costume. So now the town is planning on giving the Gingers Muhammad because the Gingers no longer want to be made fun of, and yeah, I'm kind of starting to see why if, somebody believed Muhammad as their prophet, their ultimate guide to the afterlife, they would get a little bit offended here. But it's still so funny. I mean, come on, he's in a bear costume. How could you not see him in a bear costume and think, oh man, this is a little bit funny. Maybe I should relax a little bit. I don't know. And so they eventually go and get Mecha Barbara Streisand because she's going to attack all of South Park to get Muhammad from the Gingers and the rest of the town. Cartman goes to Mr. Garrison and gets Mr. Hat and says who is his father. It's just all building up to something major, and I absolutely love it. So South Park 200 was at least allowed to say Muhammad and kind of give like the foreshadowing that Muhammad was actually going to be shown on screen in the next episode, and then 201 just spits all over that, dances on 200's grave, because hell, they're not even allowed to curse in this episode. The episode has all of the Gingers surrounding the bear costume, just being all like, come on, we don't have souls, we need Muhammad, and he unzips his bear costume, and we just get a big old ho 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 as Santa comes out of there.
Okay, so, see?
The Gingers are displeased, but Mecha Barbara Streisand is attacking Casa Bonita. That's not good. At the same time, Mitch Connor is doing blackface to get into a genetic science lab. He doesn't want to let him in at first, but then he's like, oh yes, oh my mistake, Obama is president. I can't be racist. Come in, you young African American.
You have a black president. Please come in.
And it's apparently just Mitch Connor and Cartman trying to find out who Cartman's father is. All of the different plots in this episode don't really form together into something truly special, but it does feel like a really big episode of South Park, at least to me. So eventually, Stan and Kyle, they're rushing down the street, they find Kenny, and that is when Kenny opens a door. Are we gonna get to see him? The big ooey gooey prophet? No, it's just a censor bar once again. I didn't really think we were gonna get to see him after they've been censoring even the name Muhammad, so my expectations were pretty low, but we just get a big ooey gooey censor bar just walking around the streets.
Hey, dude, what the hell? You're supposed to be watching.
As they now also go towards the genetic scientist lab so that they could clone Muhammad and give one clone to the Gingers and one clone to the celebrities to keep them from harnessing the power of Muhammad. But that's when the Gingers, they knock on the door and they're all like, hello, we're African Americans, and because Obama's president, they decide to let him in, and it's the Gingers, and the Gingers take Muhammad and everybody to this hideout where the head Ginger is lurking. And this shocked me. I can't believe I didn't know about these episodes, and not only did I not know about them, but I didn't know the stakes in them and the fact that Scott Tenorman is the head Ginger, and he returns to confront Eric Cartman once again.
Oh, but it can. Revenge is a dish best served chili.
The Gingers, they give Muhammad to the celebrities so that the celebrities can harness the power of Muhammad because it's for everybody to share. So Tom Cruise, he's just like, I'm never coming out, as he gets on the machine and he harnesses the power of Muhammad, and he also becomes a black censored bar. He is now just nothingness, just something to be forgotten, and a bunch of other celebrities start doing this process. Meanwhile, the super best friends, they start attacking the HQ, and Scott Tenorman has something big to reveal to Eric Cartman. It turns out that Cartman's dad was a Denver Bronco. Yep, on the football team, a big old meaty horse, to say the least, playing some football, and it just so happens that Scott Tenorman is related to Eric Cartman. They are brothers, and Cartman's dad is Jack Tenorman.
You killed your own father, and then you fed him to your half-brother. Yeah.
This is yet another piece of information I didn't know. I watched South Park all the way through, and these episodes, they're not on any streaming service, so I didn't know they existed, but Jack Tenorman is Cartman's father. That means Cartman fed Jack Tenorman to his brother. That's honestly pretty goddamn insane, but oh well. So then the finale of the episode is the super best friends coming in to save Cartman and all of them, and Kyle gives a big, meaningful speech. It honestly touched the bottom of my heart in every conceivable way. Like, it's just little scenes like this that change your life. Let me just play you a little bit of what Kyle is saying here.
You see, I learned something today.
And just to follow that scene up with Jesus himself saying something that honestly brought me to tears.
That's right. Don't you see, Gingers?
God, and then Santa Claus! Santa Claus adding so much!
That's right, friends.
God, that was beautiful. So then everybody decides to be friends again, and South Park is cleaned up. Mitch Connor goes away. Cartman is sad because his dad was a ginger, but at least he's half Denver Bronco. And that is the end of South Park 200 and 201. These episodes were honestly pretty interesting. I really wish that I could have seen like the full uncensored version. I understand why it was banned and why it doesn't exist, because obviously extremists threatening to kill people is something that is going to make an entire company not want to show something on live TV. But I don't know, South Park always feels like that show that wasn't afraid to do anything, and Matt and Trey, they always have said that they will put it out, but it's Comedy Central deciding to not air it ultimately. But I wish that they would have just been like, let's do this right now, and just rolled with it, just sent it out, and whatever happened. I mean, come on, what's the worst that could happen? A little bit of bombings, to say the least. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it would be that good. I understand why it was banned. It probably deserves to be banned, but I would have loved to see it uncensored. Now taking a look at Beavis and Butthead, and the banned episode in question is Comedians. Now I don't really see why this would be banned. There's a couple of ideas that I have in my mind, but I don't really know. The episode focuses on Beavis and Butthead just watching a comedy show for like 2 minutes going for a while, and then they end up going to that comedy club. They watch a guy juggle, and he tosses up a chainsaw, and it flies off, and like just blood comes out of him, but it doesn't really show much of it, and it's for people 14 and up, so I don't really think that could be the major cause of it being banned, to say the least. They then go up on stage and just say some of the like biggest jokes I've ever seen in my life, like hey guys, how do you keep a moron in suspense? And then he just sits there not saying anything for like 30 seconds, and that was a knee slapper. That was kind of funny.
How do you keep a moron in suspense? I don't know.
Everybody's sick of his comedy, that being Butthead. Beavis goes up there and just starts going so everybody ends up leaving, and then Beavis, he grabs a newspaper and a lighter and is going to juggle, and then that cuts to the entire comedy club on fire.
This is gonna be cool.
So maybe that's the reason for it being banned, the comedy club being on fire and Beavis being the cause of it. But again, I don't really see how this would be banned. I mean, it's for older kids. What situation could have happened that would have banned this episode? Upon doing some research, it gets a little bit messy. It is stated that the reason this episode was banned was because of a home catching on fire in response to this episode. A young Austin Menser, who was just 5 years old at the time, lit his house on fire after seeing Beavis and Butthead have some fun, and this caused the death of his 2-year-old sister. So the episode was pulled, Beavis and Butthead was changed to have a disclaimer before it was airing, and it was even switched to a later time slot, going from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., so it clearly was something that happened. But in 2008, Austin Menser came out and said that his mom was a drug addict and they couldn't afford cable, so how could he have watched the episode? And I don't know if maybe his memory was a little bit foggy, but if he's coming out and saying this, why was it banned? Perhaps the mom of Austin, who let him watch this episode, told them that it was because of the episode to try to shift the blame. Maybe it was a babysitter watching him, and the babysitter said it was because he was watching Beavis and Butthead, he was staying up too late. Who knows? But either way, a young girl's life was lost, and that is just incredibly tragic to come from an episode of Beavis and Butthead, which is really just supposed to be fun. Now taking a look at the episode All This and Rabbit Stew, which is one of the most racist cartoons ever made, or is it? It's part of the censored 11 cartoons which were made before 1960, which are inherently very racist. They depict every single stereotype in the book, and I wanted to talk about All This and Rabbit Stew mainly because, I don't know, I mean, yes, the character is drawn really poorly, it's an African American, and they decided to give him big old lips and a big old head, a forehead indent, he's hunched over and he's depicted as lazy and really dumb, which is all very racist. It's inherently very bad, but you could argue that Elmer Fudd, you know, the white man who likes to hunt Bugs Bunny, is also really fucking stupid and is also drawn really stupid. I will say that there are certain features on this African-American hunter that are depicted in a much worse light than Elmer Fudd, but if you just swapped the character and had him do all the same things, I could definitely see Elmer Fudd doing everything this character did. He's hunting Bugs Bunny, he's chasing him down, he's trying to get a nice meal, and they do things where like he'll run off a cliff and then it just has him staring at the camera with his big old face and he turns into a black lollipop. So yeah, that's not the best depiction ever. And then they're running around, and it's actually a pretty decent cartoon for the most part, other than the fact that it is inherently just very racist. He's running around, he's doing stupid stuff, Bugs is tricking him at every single corner, he shoots bullets and Bugs has to dodge them. The animation is surprisingly well, the music is decent, the pacing of the cartoon is done well. It's just a decent cartoon. Overall, like, I don't have any complaints other than the character's design, except for the ending of the episode, which, yeah, it's a little bit wonky that they decided to do this. He's got the gun on Bugs. He's ready to kill him, ready to finish the job, have some nice juicy rabbit stew, until he hears Bugs shaking some dice. That probably doesn't look like the best motion for me to be doing, but he hears this and he's like, "What you got there?" And they go behind a bush and start playing dice because he was just so mesmerized by the sound of dice that he was willing to give up the hunt, and he ends up losing and all of his clothes are taken, and he says, "Well, don't I look like Adam?" as the cartoon ends. And yeah, dice apparently way back when were used as a racial stereotype for more of a working class people. Just anybody who was poorer would play with dice in the hopes of winning something. So the fact that in the majority of the censored 11 cartoons there's a heavy emphasis on dice, it is clearly supposed to be racist and supposed to put down African Americans, and the fact that the hunter lost because Bugs had dice isn't the best thing ever. So yeah, this cartoon is pretty bad. All of the censored 11 cartoons are pretty bad, but I think they're an interesting look into history, and you should definitely look them up and watch a couple of them. Yes, they're over dramatic, yes, they're crazy, but man, it's just weird to look back into what people would draw and what people thought about a certain people. It's horrendous, but it's still very interesting. The episode Man's Best Friend from Ren and Stimpy is also very obvious as to why it was banned, and that is because of the merciless beating of George LaCour. Now, George LaCour, in a way, he seems like he deserves it. He seems like the type of guy that would find me at a Five Guys, wonder if there's enough guys in here, look at me, ask if I'm the fifth guy, and just start fondling my cheeks. That's just the kind of vibe he gives. The episode starts off with George LaCour staring at Ren and Stimpy through the glass, just looking at them, just going, "Oh, those are some good-looking animals. I'm George LaCour." He wants them really bad. They just look so pristine, so he decides to buy them, taking them home, and he's pretty gosh dang excited about it. And so he takes them home and he starts just giving them the good old look around. He finds the fish bowl with a fish in it, dumps the fish out because he doesn't want the fish to be living in this bowl anymore, and the fish drives away. For good reason. He got away from this disgusting, eldritch horror of a man named George LaCour. And so George, he wakes up Ren and Stimpy after putting them in the bowl and says it's roll call time, treating them like soldiers, and that's where the episode gets a little bit weird for me. It gets a little bit too out there in a sense. Now, once again, I've only watched a few episodes of Ren and Stimpy, and the episodes that I have seen, I did love. But if this was a typical thing, I don't know if I'd like it very much. Even as a child, I'd be having a lot of questions, because George LaCour, he looks at Stimpy, or Ren actually, and he's all like, "All right, drop down and give me 20 right now." And so Ren gets down, and it looks like he's gonna start doing push-ups until George LaCour grabs him by the ass cheeks, just getting a big old chunk of meat there. He's holding it, gripping those cheeks, and just starts flushing it down into the floor, making him do push-ups with his ass, making Ren twerk that thing all over the place. And that was weird. I kind of was thinking maybe that's why the episode would be banned, but little did I know what was coming. So then George LaCour, he starts getting a little bit abusive in a sense. He wants to teach them about discipline. So he says that an animal does not belong on the couch, but they need to get on the couch or he's going to be angry. Eventually, Stimpy gives into this, and George LaCour, like a man about to have a heart attack who just ate 3 cheeseburgers, he had an entire pack of smokes, and he drank an entire bottle of Hennessy, he starts getting red, getting angry. He grabs Stimpy by his little hair, he's about to yell at him, and then starts coddling him, hugging him, and giving him a good amount of love, and then gives him a chew toy or tobacco, I can't really tell which. George LaCour is a little bit unhinged, that's all I really know. So then he wants to teach them how to be a good protector, a good servant of their owner, and how to stop criminals. So he's wearing one of those suits that people would wear if they're going to be attacked by a dog, and says for them to attack him. And Stimpy, no, not Stimpy, Ren just gives all into this. He is all about this. Ren really wants to do this, so he grabs a paddle and starts mercilessly beating George LaCour. Now, I will say, for a children's cartoon, it is a little bit much, especially this frame where he whacks him and George LaCour's head like starts spinning 180 degrees. You could feel every single little bit of fat on his neck, every fat on his chin just contorting. His eye is popping in one scene. He is just getting mercilessly beaten for like the last 3 minutes of this episode, and I actually find it to be very funny. It actually is a strong suit of Ren and Stimpy, and that is slapstick comedy. I will say it's a little bit too much in some areas, but I do enjoy it for the most part, and George LaCour definitely deserves it. Eventually, George LaCour is done with his beating. His rotten, lifeless flesh of a corpse drags himself over to Ren and Stimp, and they start hitting a little bit of a jig, getting a nice happy ending. Not like the one where an Asian woman jorks your car. I don't know. Do I need to preface that? They are happy at the end of the episode. Good for them. Double thumbs up. And yeah, I can definitely see why this was banned. I mean, just the beating of George is a little bit too much, but I still found it to be very enjoyable overall. Honestly, I could see why the majority of these episodes ended up being banned. Like the Boston one, you know, having a passerby go around going, "Oh my god, there's a bomb, it's gonna blow up my car!" You know, it's perfectly valid why they would want to take something off the air because of that, because it's making fun of something very serious. Then you have the South Park stuff, which is making fun of a cultural figure or religious figure that is very important to certain people, so I understand why it didn't get to air. But these episodes, they're a lot of fun. South Park 200 and 201 had so many amazing things in it, like the return of Scott Tenorman, like the reveal of Eric Cartman's father that I just didn't know about because I didn't watch it when it was first airing, and they don't have it on streaming services. They purposefully take it off because they don't want to be controversial in any way, and I feel like we're just missing out on some things. Obviously, certain things kinda deserve to rot a little bit, like the censored 11 because it is very racist, but at the same time, you get a look into history, you get to see why it was bad, what they were trying to say, but you still get to appreciate the music, the animation, and you could look into it a little bit deeper, and you could ask yourself important questions. Were they just doing it just to be racist, or were they trying to spread a message? All of these things can be asked when you're watching something this controversial, and I think that leads to a good conversation, a good amount of thought behind it, and isn't that the point? Either way, I did really enjoy this video, I enjoyed making it, I enjoyed watching these episodes, and I hope you enjoyed it too. If you like this video, again, please make sure to like and subscribe. I really hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.